Hi, I'm Kim Vanell in Wanganui, New Zealand. Today, the US and Iran hold nuclear talks in Oman. A $50 weight loss pill sends Novo's shares plummeting. And why penis injections, and yes, you heard that right, are the big topic at this year's Winter Olympics. This is Reuters World News, bringing you everything you need to know from the front lines in 10 minutes, 7 days a week. To Oman first, where the US and Iran are set to hold high-stakes negotiations today. But disagreement over the agenda for the Oman talks suggests any progress will be hard to come by. Washington wants the talks to tackle the nuclear program, as well as its ballistic missile support for regional armed groups and its treatment of Iranians. Tehran only wants nuclear issues on the table. Telehealth company Hims announced this week that it would start selling a weight loss pill with the same active ingredients as Wegovy for as low as $49. The move could expand sales to many Americans, but as always, there's some fine print. Health insurance reporter Amina Nies explains how this cheaper drug came about and how the big weight loss players are responding.
During 2023, there was the shortage of Wegovy, or the branded drugs, and the FDA, which is the regulator in this space, allowed Hims and some other players to produce the drugs as compounded versions. Compounding under this specific framework is done to meet patient need. You basically mix ingredients to get the active ingredient, which is semaglutide. So that means if someone experiences gastrointestinal side effects and you need a lower dosage of Wegovy, the company would personalize it to you because there are just some dosages that you can't get from Novo. The branded manufacturers are saying there's a risk to patient safety, and they're not FDA approved. So as a clinician, you're weighing whether the lack of the FDA approval is more or less important than that patient need.
Even so, shares in Novo Nordisk fell sharply after the announcement from Hims, all the way down to their 2021 levels.
The biggest risk for Novo is this pricing pressure element. Novo's executive recently said that it expected a lot of payers, thinking of insurers and pharmacy benefit managers that offer the drug, to pressure the company to sell the drugs to them at a lower price.
Amazon has projected a 50+% surge in capital spending this year as it joins its peers in a spending spree to build out its AI infrastructure. And its shares sputtered on news of the $200 billion spend. For more business and finance news, you can listen to our sister Markets podcast, Morning Bid, wherever you get your podcasts. President Trump has rejected an offer from Russia's Vladimir Putin to voluntarily extend a nuclear arms treaty, writing on Truth Social that they should instead have our nuclear experts work on a new, improved and modernized treaty. Washington and Moscow have agreed to re-establish high-level military-to-military dialogue, possibly signaling a move toward normalizing some ties between the two. In the US, Democrats are pushing for new limits on President Trump's immigration crackdown ahead of a deadline, now a week away, to keep funding the Department of Homeland Security. But Republicans who control Congress so far aren't budging. At issue is whether immigration agents can wear masks, enter homes without judicial warrants, and conduct sweeps instead of targeted raids. Democrats hope they'll have better luck with Trump. White House spokesperson Caroline Leavitt says Trump will consider the demands to a point.
I know Senator Schumer and Leader Jeffries sent over a very long list of demands, some of which the administration is willing to discuss. Others don't seem like they are grounded in any common sense, and they are non-starters for this administration.
Immigration courts, meanwhile, are facing a record backlog of more than 3 million cases, and the Trump administration is trying to address that. More than 30 new immigration judges were sworn in on Thursday, many with military backgrounds. More than 100 judges have been fired or pushed out since Trump's return to office. The White House says President Trump has not discussed formal plans to deploy ICE near polling sites in November, but it wouldn't rule it out. The statement follows comments from former advisor Steve Bannon saying ICE should surround the polls, and Trump's call this week to nationalize elections, both of which are raising concerns about voter intimidation ahead of the midterms. Investigators in Arizona say they still believe Nancy Guthrie, the 84-year-old mother of NBC Today Show host Savannah Guthrie, is alive. Authorities have discovered her doorbell camera and pacemaker app were both disabled early Sunday morning when she was taken. And Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos says they've found DNA evidence too.
The blood on the porch, that was one we did. It came back to Nancy.
With no suspects identified and no proof of life, the FBI has offered a $50,000 reward for information. Japan heads to the polls on Sunday, and the country's 64-year-old Prime Minister, Sanae Takaichi, is finding followers in unexpected ways. Younger voters are driving a full-blown craze, creating a youth-led fandom being dubbed Sanakatsu, or in English, Sanamania. Reporter Tim Kelly has more from Tokyo.
So if you look at how many followers Prime Minister Takaichi has on the X platform, 2.6 million. By a US or European standard, that might not seem too many. But if you compare that to the leader of the main opposition party, he has 60,000 followers. So there's a huge gap. She's appearing on viral videos of her drumming with the South Korean president or singing happy birthday to Italian Prime Minister Meloni. So they're very much doing a lot of online TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, X. You see a lot more posting.
But Tim says there's also a physical element to it.
So she carries a bag that's made by a bag maker in Japan called Hamano. They've seen a backlog of 9 months in orders because of demand. She carries a pink pen that she's been seen scribbling notes with in Parliament and at press conferences, and there's been an increase in sales. Also, the polling ahead of the election shows her on course to get a big majority, a landslide victory. And we do believe, from what the indications we've seen and from what we've seen in the polling, that a lot of that could come from the young voters.
And finally, the Winter Olympics officially kick off tonight with an opening ceremony at Milan's San Siro Stadium. But the most curious story so far is about penis enlargement. Claims that male ski jumpers are artificially enhancing their penis size to gain an aerodynamic advantage. Oshin Chine, our sports editor, has more.
Yes, opening day at the Olympics. So obviously, all anyone is talking about is penis enlargement. Essentially, it's about ski jumpers injecting their penises with hyaluronic acid or paraffin, apparently, to secure a different cut of their ski suit, which can add meters to their jumps. So think about it like, I guess, a flying squirrel and the fabric. The ski jumpers are measured at the start of the season, and there's a certain measurement point. And from that point, the ski suit is cut. So if they can enlarge their genitals in some way, then the distance between the neck and the bottom of the trunk of their body where the ski suit is longer. And just 2 centimeters of additional fabric can add 5.8 meters to a jump. This first surfaced in Bild. The German newspaper reported that ski jumpers were doing this. I mean, certainly people go to great lengths to get an advantage in the suit. This obviously would be fairly extreme. FIS, the World Ski Federation, has said, there's nothing to see here. Nobody's doing this. WADA, the World Anti-Doping Agency, said that they would look into if this was happening and if it would constitute technical doping.
And for a final play before your weekend, we will stick with sports and a recommended listen. Tune in to On Assignment with Ethan Plotkin, our very own Pats fan, for everything you need to know ahead of the Super Bowl 60. And it's not just about the touchdowns, but also the noise outside the lines, as this year's game has become a lightning rod for the culture wars. That pod drops on Saturday morning. For more on any of the stories from today, check out Reuters.com or the Reuters app. Don't forget to follow us on your favorite podcast player. If you're listening on a smart speaker, just ask for the latest news from Reuters 7 days a week. We'll be back tomorrow with our daily headline show.